Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference ahead of the game against Spurs in Shanghai. I just saw Daniel say that was a pointless press conference, and I tell you what, I'm going to say, low-key, I think that was probably Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's best press conference as a Manchester United manager. But I predicted some people would say, oh, it was a little bit dull, it was a little bit boring. I think it was a little bit dull and boring because every question he answered had to be translated in Chinese, so there was a lot of gaps. That's nothing against the fact we're in China and they need to translate it for their audience. But it did sort of elongate the interview and stunted the flow because every question that McTominay answered or Solskjaer answered, there was a couple of minutes after that while it was translated. But I think the key points were covered in the interview. We'll talk about transfers first. He gave two answers about transfers. First of all, it was about, basically is the squad ready? And he said it's going to be, to be or not to be with players identified. So a little bit of Shakespeare in there, but basically saying it to be or not to be with the players that have been identified. But on the tour, the players that we've worked with have worked really, really well. So that was a little bit of a concern. Playing a straight bat again, sort of like, not putting pressure. He's already said last week he won't hold a grudge if United don't make the signings. So, I think he's just saying there to be or not to be. He's not putting pressure on it. I don't agree with that, by the way, but I'll come to that in a minute. And then another question he was asked, a very pertinent question he was asked actually, transfer frustration. Have you had looking at Wan-Bissaka? I mean, this was a brilliant question to be honest. Looking at Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James, are you frustrated about how long it's taken to get players in? Because when you look at Daniel James and especially Wan-Bissaka, the way they've integrated into United so well means that they'll go into the new season basically like everybody else. But it's not always easy to come into Manchester United Football Club and hit the ground running. In recent years, we saw Lindelof's first year was dodgy. Fred's first year was dodgy. There are a couple of others as well. So getting those signings in earlier, getting them on the tour, getting them part of the training and the way we're playing, that would have been ideal. But Ollie gave a good answer, really. And to be honest with you, I can't really moan about what he said, because what he said was, we're happy with what we've got, but we've got to be patient. We've got to bring the right ones in. We can't jump to another target just because we've hit a hurdle. So what he's basically saying is patience is important. They've got the targets that they want. It would be bad of them to move away from those targets just because they've hit a hurdle. And he's got to be patient because he wants to bring the right players in. And I think that whether it's a load of nonsense or not, it is the right answer. And I suppose if you take Harry Maguire as the example, £70 million bid went in just over 2 weeks ago. Nothing's happened since then. Bit of a, you got Brendan Rodgers last night after the Leicester pre-season game where Harry Maguire actually scored a goal saying we've got a price but we don't need to sell. Independent quote, somebody might have been the Independent, might have been the Telegraph, saying something like Leicester want 90 million. Well, I'm sorry, up yours, Leicester. And I think at this point, Manchester United's position comes quite difficult because if we want Harry Maguire, for example, and Leicester want 90 million, 75 million is a fair price for Harry Maguire. At some point, United either walk away or Harry, I think, to be honest with you, Harry Maguire's got to grow a pair. I'm sorry, I know, and this is only my interpretation on this, but if Leicester want 90 million and United are willing to pay a fair price of 75, 80 million, then Harry Maguire's got to, there's no point sitting there going, I'd like the move, but I'm not going to force it. Force the bloody move or play for Leicester for the rest of your career, because United should not pay 90 million for Harry Maguire. He should force the move. It's not like we're saying we're only going to pay 30 million and you force the move, Harry. Force yourself out and poor Leicester because they're hardly going to get any money. £75 million, £80 million is fair for Harry Maguire. 90 million is robbery, because you could get Koulibaly for just about that. So I'm sorry, I agree with Ollie and the patience of the club here, because what are United supposed to do? Like, if Leicester are holding out for ridiculous money, United can't pay it. So Harry Maguire's important in this. And I tell you what, if I was Harry Maguire and I'm playing football for Leicester next season and I wanted to play for United, moan at bloody Leicester. Don't moan at United, because you could force that move and put a transfer request in. You'd be gone for 80 million within a week. And that's how I feel about that. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when asked about transfer frustration, he said, we've got to be patient. Because we've got to get the right ones. And we can't just move away to different targets because we've hit a hurdle. So I would say Harry Maguire, certainly Bruno Fernandes, those would be the two players that we know fit that bill. Harry Maguire because Leicester wants silly money. Bruno Fernandes because his contract, his his signing is technical because Bruno, I think United probably want to pay about 50. Sporting Lisbon wants 60, but if you put a bid in, they've got to pay, and they reject it, they've got to pay Bruno Fernandes 5 million. So there's technicalities to both deals, and you can understand why United, why Ollie is saying we've got to be patient. What I would say away from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because it's not his fault, maybe the board could be a little bit more proactive, especially in the case of Bruno Fernandes, who is worth 60 million. But I wouldn't take it as a negative thing from Ollie. I think that what he's saying there is that we are working on deals. He's leaving the door open that we might not do any deals because anything is possible. But I think we will do deals. I think, if you watch the show from last night, it was a brilliant show because there was so many stories coming out. But somebody said after the show, what a surprise. Ed Woodward comes back from holiday and suddenly there's loads and loads of Manchester United transfer stories. Call me a cynic, but I think he's feeding it out because we had Milinkovic-Savic from a credible Italian outlet, Pepe from a credible French outlet, English press talking about Fernandes. Obviously, we know Harry Maguire's on the go, and a Newcastle outlet talking about Longstaff. So five potential deals. We've got 15 days left of the transfer window. We ain't doing 5 deals. So there's a lot of stuff floating out around there at the moment. Personally, I'd just be happy if we get Bruno and Harry Maguire done, and I think Ollie would be the same. But he spoke about Lukaku and Pogba, so let's talk about Lukaku first of all. Lukaku will not feature against Spurs, which means in the entirety of the tour, he's not played any football for Manchester United. So Ollie was asked, was it a waste of time bringing him? Should he have just stayed back in England? And Ollie said, well, no, because he picked up the knock in training. I think if Lukaku was intending to be a United player next season, he would have played in some pre-season games. Now, I'm not disputing the fact he's got a knock, but what's his desire to get, back from that knock? Because if you're Romelu Lukaku and you're invested in your Manchester United future, and you're looking at people like Greenwood, Martial, Rashford, Chong, all these players doing well on the tour, you're like, bloody hell, I wasn't even a starter last season. I'm dropping further and further down the pecking order, and Sanchez has got to come back yet. So Lukaku would get himself involved. What Lukaku's doing, and I don't dispute this, I haven't got an issue with it, he's waiting for that move to Inter Milan. And I think United are quite happy for him to wait for that because United are like, we don't want you getting injured either. So I think that's what's happening with Lukaku. Ollie was asked about Lukaku, if he is a United player next season, how much has it damaged him not being part of the pre-season tour? And Ollie said it'll be hard because he'll have to make up for it later. He's not been part of the training, he doesn't know the way that we're playing. He's not integrated himself into the new way that we're playing, which I'll talk about in a moment. So it's going to be hard and he's going to be playing catch-up. So even if Lukaku does stay at United, is he going to start against Chelsea? Highly unlikely that he's part of those plans for Ollie either. But also that goes back to new signings as well. If it's going to be hard for the people like Lukaku and Sanchez who've missed the pre-season, it's going to be hard for any new signing we make as well. So it's a double-edged sword in many ways. He was asked about the intensity of the training. I'll bring that in then we'll talk about Pogba. He was asked about the intensity of the new intensity to Manchester United's pre-season training, which a lot of people have commented on. Scott McTominay was sat next to Ollie actually, and he said, look, I've not had a pre-season training like this. Warren Joyce in the reserves a little bit, but so I was a little bit used to it, but definitely talking about a harder pre-season. What I would say about that though is, let's not go overboard with the fact that we're doing loads of running and intensity and fitness work, etc. Because David Moyes got a lot of stick for doing this. David Moyes was all about this and it didn't work well. I think it's going to work different with Ollie because we're playing better football, but it's not just about doing loads of shuttle runs. You've got to do quicker ball work as well. And that's what Ollie was saying. It's about, effectively, it's a new start. We've got a new style and we want to play on the front foot. And they're the more encouraging comments for me. When your manager's saying, I want us to play on the front foot with a new intensity, that's music to my ears because we want to see United doing that. We know under Mourinho and Van Gaal we were very pragmatic, very side to side, very slow at moving the ball from back to front, very slow at closing the opposition down. We know under Ollie that that's not what he wants to do. So one thing we will get next season, whether we're winning games or losing games, we're going to get a more pleasing on the eye intensity from Manchester United. Let's just hope that it works. But going to what he said about Pogba, there was a question about Paul Pogba. Now, Paul Pogba's future, for me, if I had to give it a percentage at the moment, I would say 70% sure he's going to stay. Whereas at the start of the tour, I was 70% sure he was going to go. I don't know why I've shifted. I think it's really because the amount of time that's left in the transfer window. Effectively 2 weeks left in the transfer window. We still haven't got the centre-back and the midfielders that we needed. And then you're going to try and replace Lukaku as well. Pogba as well, and Lukaku. So I just don't think it's going to happen. But then again, maybe it's gone quiet because things are going on. And remember, Pogba doesn't have to sign for Madrid before August the 8th. He can go afterwards. It's more about whether United bring a Pogba replacement in. And as I said last night, if we did make a move for a Milinkovic-Savic, I think that would be a big sign that Pogba's going to go in August. But I still think whether Pogba leaves United or not, I can see him playing against Chelsea because he can still go to Real Madrid after that game. But hence why Solskjaer was asked about Pogba. You know, he'd said that he wants to go. Is he concerned about the fan reaction to Pogba? To which Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, no, I've got no concerns. The fans know what Paul Pogba brings to the team and what he can bring to the team. And I can honestly say that he's never caused me or any of the players any issues at United. So, positivity streak with Paul Pogba again. What's my thought as a United Stand fan channel, how the fans are going to react to Paul Pogba? I think in the main, you are going to get a positive atmosphere towards Paul Pogba at Old Trafford in that Chelsea game. And I think you get a positive atmosphere to Paul Pogba anyway. But what I've always said is, doing this, even a year ago, there are Manchester United fans who don't like Paul Pogba. And that's nothing to do with him handing in a transfer request. There are fans that don't really like Pogba. And that will stay the same. And there's probably a few more people that don't like him because of the way his agent acted in June. For me, Paul Pogba's issue is his inconsistency on the Manchester United shirt. On his day, he's very, very good. But let's be honest, over the last 3 years, it's 50-50. Good days and bad days. And it's frustrating when he's playing in the midfield against teams like Cardiff, Huddersfield, Newcastle, and he's unable to exert his authority on that. And that's Pogba's issue, that Ollie needs to get the best out of him. But, as Ollie said, it's a new start, it's a new playing style. If we get some new players around him, we might see a new Paul Pogba, if he's going to stay. And then I think the problems of the fans will dissipate anyway. Thanks for the contribution from Zar, who is Theshan Kitson. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to be our player of the season, says Luca. Paul Robinson, we definitely shouldn't be offering Pogba a new contract. I'll be happy for him to go either after we sign 2 midfielders or next season, says Jay Baz. I'd agree with you on that. I think it's about keeping him for another year with regards to Paul Pogba. Little bit of chat from Solskjaer about the Nicky Butt role. Obviously, he's going to be head of first team development now. Effectively, Ollie was saying that the path from the youth and the reserves to the first team has always been a bit convoluted. Nicky's job is to make that path from the youth setup to the first team easier because Nicky Butt knows exactly what we want. Scott McTominay was asked about the class of 92 and the youth players coming through now. Very good. I mean, what I would say about McTominay over this summer, whatever he does on the pitch, and I personally think about McTominay, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite, I still have got big question marks about McTominay. I've got a feeling he's going to have a very good season, but I've still got question marks. I haven't seen enough that makes me think he's a first teamer for United yet. I hope I'm going to get proved wrong. But what he certainly is, he's very good in front of the camera. He was asked about the class of 92, and he said, look, we're probably not going to replicate that because they were amazing players, but we have got to be determined, people like him and Mason Greenwood and Axel Twansibi. We've got to be focused and determined to grab our opportunity, which is a fair answer. Theshan Kiston says, hi Mark, what's your thoughts on United winning the league with Dybala, Pepe, Bruno, Fernandes and Maguire? Well, for a start, I don't think we'll sign 3 of those players. I don't think we'll sign Dybala. I don't think we'll sign... you've only said 4 actually. I've counted Bruno and Fernandes as 2 players. I don't think we're going to sign Dybala and Pepe. I know there was a lot of talk about Pepe last night, but I just don't feel it. I feel with the Pepe... I mean, last night there was talk that Pepe has been a £70 million bid for Pepe has been rejected. And I got into a bit of a social media argument on my Twitter at Mark Goldbridge about this because I said, good player, would like Pepe at United, not worth 70 million, Lille can screw it. And a lot of people were like, of course he's worth 70 million. If Harry Maguire's worth 80 million... then Pepe's worth 70 million. And then people saying, you know nothing about football. And I just think, this is sometimes the problem with football opinion on social media. Idiots are on there. And I class myself as an idiot at sometimes. But how can you compare Pepe being worth 70 million and Harry Maguire being worth 80 million? I mean, do I have to explain it? Because I'm sure live comments are going to explain it to everyone now. Harry Maguire plays in the Premier League and he's English and he's Premier League proven. That's 40 million on him straight away. So he's probably a £40 million defender with 40 million added on because he plays in the Premier League, he's English and he's an England regular. That's why he's 80 million. Nicola Pepe is not worth 80 million, 70 million. He plays in the French league for Lille. Now I'm going to be very arrogant and condescending here, but I'm sorry. Tell me the last player that left Lille for anything over 50 million quid. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, Lille, I think Neymar and Mbappe are the two big deals involving the French league, and you can understand why. Everybody else who leaves the French league, they don't go for that sort of money. And there's no way in the world that Nicolas Pepe is a £70 million player. He's 24 years of age, playing for Lille. He's got great potential, but he's not worth any more than 50, 60 million. So if United have had a £70 million bid, which I don't believe, you walk away, because you could get Jadon Sancho for another 20. So you walk away from that deal, I think. And I don't think we're in for Nicolas Pepe. I would like us to sign Nicolas Pepe, but I don't think we're in for him. I think with regards to him, we are being used, and he will probably go to Liverpool. That's what I've always felt. But I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. Life and Kalanga says Pepe isn't actually as good as people think he is either. I've heard a few people say that. Say that. A few people are talking about Eden Hazard. Are you seriously want to be that much of a schmuck that you want to compare Eden Hazard to Nicolas Pepe? You need to go and watch Nicolas Pepe, is what I would say. If you think Eden Hazard's move from French football to Chelsea is in any way comparable to Nicolas Pepe being worth £70 million, you seriously need to watch a bit of football and get off FIFA. Sad acts. Bloody sad acts. Don't spam my comments with Hazard. You're making yourself look an idiot. I'll start shouting the people out who are doing it. Let's do it, in fact. James Kiesling says Hazard, what a prat. He said it loads of times. Arish Ramakrishnan, Hazard, what a prat. Was Jay, Hazard, what a prat. So you people are basically saying that Eden Hazard's move is comparable to Nicolas Pepe. Ha! Brilliant. Absolutely superb. What else was said in the press conference? Intensity, to be or not to be. Injuries. So the only injury concern for the game against Spurs tomorrow is Romelu Lukaku, who won't play. Victor Lindelof's okay. Remember, Victor Lindelof came off in that game, so he will be fine for tomorrow. Flex was actually at the press conference. He's been at the hotel, and right now he'll be at the open training session at pitchside, filming stuff there. He's going to do a Spurs versus Manchester United preview, because I think it's the first preview we're going to do on the channel for the pre-season, because I think the rest of the games have for different reasons been unimportant. But this game, you've got Spurs, who are at the same fitness levels as us, playing in the same league as us, going for the same positions as us in the top four. So tomorrow, depending on how the teams line up, it's going to be a real test against a good team. And I'll tell you what, if United put in a good performance tomorrow against Spurs, and it's a good Spurs team, I think you've got to say, you know what? You know, we're looking good. We're looking good. I mean, look, Arsenal drawing 2-2 with Real Madrid last night. I mean, they're probably all saying they're going to win the league, but I know, and you know, because we've done so many pre-season tours, when you play Inter Milan or Barcelona or Real Madrid or Juventus in July, you're going to beat them or get a good result against them, because you're going to be at least 2 weeks ahead of them in your pre-season training, because they start training later, because their league starts later. There's not really a comparison between the two. But Spurs tomorrow, there definitely will be. Sanchez is our best winger, says TD. Just get Maguire for any price, says Mohamed Basma. No, I think if we paid 90 million for Eden Hazard, we would look ridiculously stupid. Spurs are better and they've got more balance, says Kay Brennan. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. Lindelof and Maguire partnership thoughts, says Joshua John. Lindelof's a more technical player, and he reads the game well. Whereas Harry Maguire's a dominant force. He does read the game well, and he is good on the ball. But Harry Maguire will give it. I mean, he scored a goal yesterday, didn't he? He's got that dominance in the air that United really miss, and that's exactly why Manchester United want Harry Maguire. I mean, Harry Maguire won more aerial duels than Van Dijk last year, and Van Dijk is dominant in the air. Like, he absolutely is dominant, and Harry Maguire won more aerial duels than him. Theshan Kistin says, Mark, does Chong remind you of Nani? Brilliant on his day, but not consistent, full of tricks, lacking physical. No, he doesn't remind me of Nani at all. I think the way that he moves on the ball, he doesn't remind me of Nani at all. He glides past players. He's quicker at getting past players. I don't see a correlation between Nani's style of play and Chong at all. You might be right on the consistency levels, but no, I don't see a difference. I think I think Nani could hit the ball a lot better than Chong from distance as well. I don't personally think that there's any comparison between the two. And Rohan Goal says Spurs are not at the same fitness levels as us. They started training a week later, and also this will be their second pre-season game. Well, I'll take your word on that, Rohan, but it makes absolutely no sense why Spurs would start a week later than us. Like, why? They're playing in the same bloody league. In fact, Spurs play their Premier League game before us because I think they play on the Saturday and we're playing on the Sunday. So that makes no... Well, that's a mistake on Spurs' part then, because why would you be a week behind Manchester United in your pre-season training? It doesn't make any sense at all. Well, maybe we will have an advantage then. But, yeah. Well, but maybe different managers pace themselves differently. Marky concerned that De Gea may leave with Pogba if he hasn't re-signed yet, says G-Mac. No, De Gea's deal's done. De Gea's just waiting to come back to England to do the contract. You know, you're not going to announce a contract extension whilst away on the tour. So the week he gets back, next week, I think De Gea will be announced, yeah. But I don't know. Nobody seems to know the answer. When Manchester United are flying back from China, are we flying back tomorrow? So we're back in England on Saturday and we fly to Norway on Monday. Are we going straight to Norway from China and having a day in China? I don't know what Manchester United's travel plans are. So, you know, if United are back in England on the weekend, we might see a transfer at the weekend. If they're not, we might not see a transfer till the back end of next week because we're going to be in Norway and stuff. On transfers, to me, I don't know what you lot think. I was thinking about this morning. It feels to me like the last week of the transfer window is going to be a big week for United. So we've got this week, which is nearly over now. Next week, we've got a game in Norway on the Tuesday. Maybe we'll see something towards the back end of next week. But I think from a week today to the end of the transfer window, I think we're going to see most business in the last week and a half. Because United, for some reason, don't seem to want to do deals when we're on the tour, do we? Good point from Arjun Gill 97, who's one of our members. He's got the badge. He says they started later, probably because they played a Champions League final in June. Fair point, fair point. And also, a lot of their players have been on... well, some of ours have as well, haven't we? The Carrick fan says Lindelof was asked about Maguire. He said it wasn't competition. There we go. Well, they'd be playing together, wouldn't they? Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe if you are new, bottom right hand corner. Please do smash a like on the video. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes while we are live. We will be back live at 8 o'clock tonight. We've also got the vlog from China going up with Flex. He's pitch side for the open training session. He was at the press conference and he'll be previewing the Spurs game as well. So it's going to be some really good footage from China there from that. So make sure you're subscribed, bottom right hand corner. You've got your notifications on. Get your comments in below. Smash a like on the video. And obviously if there's anything to go live for during the day, transfer-wise, we will do. If not, I will see you at 8 o'clock tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. Apologies that the press conference was later than it should have been. That was because Ollie was late, and then obviously the Chinese translation doubled the time for it. And we've got a final super chat coming in here from Steph Chadwick, who says we need to get Gomez and Chong out on loan in the Championship to get the most out of them in the future. I think Perisic would be great for a year. Well, let's see. I do agree with you on Chong and Gomez. I do agree with you on that. I think it needs more of a conversation, but I do agree with you on that because I don't think they're going to get first team football much either. Speak to you all later. Thanks everyone in the live comments who's been watching live. If you're not watching live, thanks to you as well. Really, really good press conference from Ollie. For me, it's a thumbs up. I thought it was, low-key, his best press conference so far. Speak to you all soon.